All right, let's get right into it. If you're a trader out there and you're hunting for that one last strategy, that one missing piece of the puzzle you think is going to make it all click, I've got a question for you.
Seriously, what if the real path to consistent profits isn't about adding more, but about subtracting? I'm talking about subtracting your ego, subtracting your need to be certain, and maybe even subtracting the very idea of who you think you are as a trader.
And look, I get it. You're probably stuck in this brutal loop. You learn something new, you get excited, you even have a few good trades, and it feels amazing. But then, boom, you self-sabotage. You break your rules, you get emotional, and you end up right back where you started, promising yourself, okay, next time will be different. But it never is.
Now, here's the thing. This isn't because you're broken or undisciplined. It's because the very software your brain runs on, the part that's designed to keep you safe in the real world by finding patterns and avoiding pain, that exact same system is actively working against you in the market. It's a developmental problem, not a character flaw.
To really bring this home, let me tell you about a guy I knew. Let's call him David. When David started, he was on fire. I mean, his first 40 trades were all wins. 40 in a row. People thought he was some kind of trading genius. And you know what? He was starting to believe it too.
But here's the secret. On the inside, he was absolutely terrified. Because David knew something nobody else did. He had no earthly idea why he was winning. He just happened to step into a market that was ripping in his direction. Deep down, he knew it wasn't skill. It was just dumb luck wearing a really convincing disguise.
And then, of course, came trade number 41. It was just a normal loss, nothing special. But for David, it was catastrophic. It shattered his entire identity, the one he'd built around being the guy who never loses. The market didn't just take his money, it revealed that he never had a real strategy to begin with. He'd just been riding a massive wave and telling everyone he was a great swimmer.
David's story really gets to the heart of it. The problem was never the loss. It was the crushing psychological weight he was carrying all along. And it makes you wonder, what if the heaviest thing you're carrying isn't your string of losses, but your desperate need to control every single outcome? Think about it, like holding a glass of water. It's light, right? But hold it out for an hour, your arm starts to ache. Hold it for a full day, and it'll feel impossible to bear. The weight of the glass never changes, only how long you hold it. It's the same in trading. The strategy isn't what crushes you, it's holding on to the need for control that does.
So here's the path forward. Real, sustainable trading is born from surviving 3 unavoidable psychological demolitions. You can't go around them. First is the death of certainty. Second, the death of control. And finally, the death of the fear of loss. Let's walk through each one.
Okay, stage 1. This is where most traders get stuck, often for their entire careers. It's where your need to be certain goes to die.
See, you come into this game thinking that if you just do enough analysis, read enough charts, watch enough news, you can actually know what's going to happen next. But the market has one primary job, and that's to systematically and sometimes violently destroy that belief. It'll make you lose when you do everything right and win when you do everything wrong until you finally just give up on trying to predict the future. And this is the fundamental shift you have to make. You have to go from saying, I know this trade will work, to saying, I know my edge works over a large series of trades. You stop being attached to this one outcome and start trusting the process. You think like a casino. The house doesn't care if you win the next hand of blackjack. It cares that over thousands of hands, its statistical edge will play out. That's the mindset.
So once you start to accept that you can't be certain, that naturally leads you to the next demolition site, realizing you can't actually control the market at all.
Now, you know this logically, right? But emotionally, you're still in there, nudging your stop loss, taking profits way too early, staring at every tick, thinking you're being skillful. But the cold, hard truth is, you only control 3 things: your entry point, your exit plan, and your position size. That's it. Everything else you do once the trade is on, that's just fear wearing a costume, pretending to be skill.
And here's the beautiful paradox of it all. You only find real control when you give up the illusion of it. You make your plan when you're calm and rational. Entry, exit, risk. Then you just execute. You let the market do what it's gonna do. By surrendering control over the outcome, you gain the only control that ever really mattered: control over yourself.
And that brings us to the final and most profound demolition. This is the one that truly separates the consistently profitable traders from everybody else. This is where you finally stop being afraid to lose. Look, most traders think they've accepted risk just because they put a stop loss on, but they're still terrified of being wrong. They hate seeing red.
You have to get to a place where a losing trade is just emotionally neutral. A loss isn't failure. It's just data. It's the market telling you, hey, not this time. That's all. It's not a judgment on your IQ or your self-worth. It's just a number.
And this is maybe the biggest paradox in all of trading. The traders who are the least afraid to lose are the ones who make the most money. And it's not because they're being reckless gunslingers. It's because their lack of fear gives them the mental freedom to execute their plan perfectly, every single time, without hesitating or second-guessing themselves. They are free.
Okay, so understanding all this is one thing, but how do you actually start walking this path? How do you rebuild after the demolition? Let's get really practical here.
Here are 4 things you can literally start doing today. First, be honest. Name your stage. Are you stuck needing to be certain, trying to control everything, or are you just paralyzed by the fear of losing? Second, pick one painful loss from your past and reframe it. Ask, what did this teach me about my psychology, not my strategy? Third, before you click the button on any trade, just pause, take a breath, ask yourself, am I following my plan or am I trying to prove something? And fourth, set a goal that has nothing to do with your ego, an identity-free goal.
And this last one, this is the most powerful exercise you can do. For your very next 20 trades, forget about the money. The P&L is irrelevant. Track only one single thing. Did I follow my plan? A simple yes or no. That's it. That is the only score that matters. If you can get 20 yeses in a row, regardless of whether you won or lost money, you will have fundamentally changed the game. You've separated your ego from your execution.
So you see, this whole process, these demolitions, they feel painful, but they're not about destroying you. They're about liberating you. They are freeing you from the crushing weight of having to be right, having to be in control, having to know the future. You're being freed from illusions you built just to feel safe. You become lighter, more agile, and way more dangerous in the market.
I want to leave you with this one last thought to chew on. This journey, it burns away all the junk that's standing between you and the trader you were always meant to be. It's tough, for sure, but it is so worth it, because the person who comes out the other side isn't scared anymore. So, the real question is, who will you become when you're no longer afraid to be wrong?